Can good people turn into bad people? I'm not just talking about a particular case like Walter White's. In human history, mass atrocities were often done by one group of people to another, and history repeated itself over and over. Ordinary people, or even good people, may turn into vicious people and do terrible things. This phenomenon has baffled the researchers and brings up the question, how does a good person become a devil's advocate? Lucifer, who was once God's favorite angel, was punished for turning against God and was sent to hell. And then he became the devil. This metaphor has inspired a psychological professor, Zimbardo, to develop the Lucifer Effect. He had some childhood friends who later became criminals as they grew older. Motivated by these real-life examples, he started his research. He found out that even an ordinary person could perform temporary or long-lasting evil actions. In our common perceptions, our behaviors are determined by our innate personalities and the education we have received. But another significant factor is often overlooked: the system which shapes and maintains our behaviors. Regardless of our personalities and lifestyles, we all want to be accepted by others. It is human nature. Even without noticing it, we all belong to some invisible groups and behave similarly to other members. And we may be part of a group because of region, interests, opinions, or activities. Most of the time, being part of a bigger group is neutral or positive, but a dilemma occurs once the group is corrupted and turns into evil. Professor Zimbardo designed a social experiment at a prison converted from a lab at Stanford University. He first selected some people who behaved very normally and were psychologically sound. He randomly assigned these people into two groups, one group being the guards and the other being the prisoners. A prize would be awarded to all the participants only if they completed the 2-week experiment. The guards and prisoners were still friendly during the first day, but as the organizer started to provide directional hints and guidance, the guards quickly adjusted their behaviors. The guards started bullying and harassing the prisoners from the second day on. They even started depriving the human rights of the prisoners on the third and the fourth day. Some guards refused to participate initially. Still, even they began to dehumanize the prisoners as things moved on. As things got out of control, the organizers had to interrupt the experiment to prevent unimaginable worse outcomes. As the two groups of people were assigned randomly, it means if the prisoners and guards had switched roles, the outcome probably would have been the same. That's the most disturbing conjecture of the experiment. Professor Zimbardo wanted to show that our actions are formed by a series of external factors that govern our lives. These factors include authority, culture, economic status, region, politics, specific situations, and much more. These external forces form the system that determines our personalities and actions. Specifically, a person who is part of this system has been offered protection and been granted power. This power enables them to perform evil actions against people outside this system. In the social environment, people want to be accepted and protected. In the pursuit of this acceptance and protection, people's behaviors will be shaped or even manipulated by the system. Actions that go against this influence will lead to vulnerability. During World War II, Nazis' ally, the Japanese military started assigning inhuman tasks to their young soldiers. Initially, some were willing to say no, but soon they were excluded or even bullied because their peers had to do all the dirty work once they said no. Eventually, everybody conformed and executed the evil tasks as instructed, just like everyone else. The most disturbing part of Professor Zimbardo's research is that even an ordinary person, or a good person, is not entirely free from being evil. He attributed this to the evil system and peer pressure. But is that the end of the story? Does it mean we have to give up faith in human nature and allow people to be responsible with their vicious conduct? Hannah Arendt brought up the concept of the banality of evil. She said most individuals who performed horrifying actions did not consider themselves inherently evil. They thought they were just performing their daily duties as instructed and were just being a joiner and a follower. Even though their actions were triggered by external stimuli, it doesn't automatically grant exemption to their wrongdoings. In 2015, a former Nazi member, the accountant of Auschwitz, Oskar Gröning, was sentenced to 4 years in prison despite being 96 years old. Although his attorney argues the accountant was merely performing bookkeeping and clerical duties, the judge denied this saying and claimed he assisted the murder in 300,000 cases. In other words, the blame of an evil group should not grant immunity to an individual's crimes. When a person is granted power and protection by a group, it is hard not to follow them. It is challenging, and sometimes even heroic, to remain sober, make the correct judgment, go against the tide, and choose the difficult path. But sometimes, the difficult path is the only right path.